Because although I am recording, I also have to make certain that my bitrate is fine and I am not having any lag issues. I don't think I am. Alright, so far looking good. Alright then. So, hello everyone, and welcome to a very special lecture. Normally, as you people probably know, I go over pro games, or I have something professional related that I'm usually reviewing. Um, Either for a specific theme or just some cool games that I saw earlier in the week. That sort of thing. This week, I will be having 3 lectures today, tomorrow, and Friday. Or today, Friday, and Saturday. I'm not entirely certain. Probably the next 3 days. Which I will be doing something completely different than what I usually do. Instead, I'm going to be going over some of my more memorable games to kind of wrap up the year. And by memorable games, I do not mean games that uh, games from this year that are memorable. I mean games throughout my entire Go playing career that are memorable. It'll essentially be broken down to a sort of history of my playing. Kind of sounds boring, but I think it might be a little bit interesting. However, to fully understand why these games are memorable, a little bit of a backstory is needed. Because our first game that we're going to be looking at comes to us from back at the year 2000. Some of you may not have even been playing Go back then. And to understand this game, you have to know what Go playing was like back then. You have to understand where you could play Go, for example. KGS was not around back then, right? We had some really stupid places that you can play, like Yahoo, still around. If you've played there, you know it's horrible. MSN Gaming Zone, that was another popular one that I played on for a little while. Graphics, just utter and complete trash. You only essentially play at either of these places to goof around, chances are. And then, of course, there was the lovely IGS. It was pretty much the first Go server in English. Um, but more than that, it was the strongest Go server at the time. Because their ranking system was quite different than what we have now. And this is why I was absolutely in love with it. Because their amateur Dan ranking system essentially only went up to 4 Dan. 5 and 6 Dans? Oh dear, is there a weird tapping noise on stream? If there is, let me know. I'll see what I can do about that. I have no idea what it could be. But suffice it to say, 5 and 6 Dans on IGS back in the day were essentially professional level players. Because an amateur essentially could only rise up to about 4 Dan. And for someone like myself, who was really serious about the game, and really wanted to get better, obviously, I only watched games from 4 Dans and above, right? Because who wants to even waste time looking at anyone else? One such 4 Dan, I had a pretty fair understanding of how he played. I watched him constantly, because he played rather routinely. I can't really think of a user to equate him to here on KJS, because I sadly don't watch enough here. Um, but yeah, pretty strong, amateur, watched him all the time. I obviously was not the only one. There's always, fairly large crowds whenever someone strong is playing. However, after one of his games, for reasons completely unbeknownst to me, I got a game request. Now, my rank was 8Q at the time. I have no idea why he challenged me. But I did know that I was not going to give up such a wonderful opportunity to play someone so much stronger than myself. I mean, come on, it was going to be like a free teaching game. Who could pass that up? So the first memorable game that I have is actually between me and this Fordon. Whoops, not that one. Ah, crap, I'm misclicking all over the place. Let's see, rule set. Let's go ahead and put in who's who, though it is fairly obvious in this game. Let's see, what was his name? It was probably lowercase, I don't know. Versus, do I want to put in my ID? No, let's just say that. Let's not put in my ID name. Let's see, he was Fordon, I was 8Q. So yeah, interesting game, hope you guys like it. Now, one thing immediately to note about my playing, back in the year 2000, as a lowly 8Q, is that I play a lot differently than I do today. For example, what is one thing you never see me review anymore? Be it professional games, amateur games, whatever. What's one thing you never see me do? I never do odd openings, correct. The 4-5 point usually is considered a fairly odd opening. It's a bit influentially oriented. So between this and the 4-4, you can kind of get the sense that maybe I was into influence, which is just completely opposite of how I am today. Now, he decides to approach me immediately. Okay, I guess he plans to finish this game. However, I get so lucky, because even though I play the 5-4 a lot here in this in these openings from back in the day, I don't play it because I know every single variation in this Joseki. Because keep in mind, this was back in the year 2000. We didn't really have a lot of Joseki databases that we can study, right? We had like, maybe you saw, I don't know, maybe you saw a sequence somewhere, be it someone else's game, maybe even a professional game, who knows? And that's where you learn that sequence. That's pretty much the only sequence you knew, unless you went out and bought books. I, of course, didn't do that. I only looked at games. So I essentially only knew one sequence while I was playing this for so long. And he kindly played the only sequence that I knew. So right away in this game, I was absolutely thrilled that for some reason he is playing a sequence that everyone here should know is bad. He decides to play this way. So tell me, why is this bad? Does anyone know? Okay, and what does a double honey do for us, Alara? Where will that lead us? Indeed, it surrounds white. The only sequence that I know here, he happened to play. So of course I was thrilled. He's of course trying to kill me. And if I was an 8K who had never seen this before, that would probably kill me. But because this is the only variation I know, I actually know I can extend here. So lucky me. He then plays super greedy to try to kill me. Hello, Nozumi. Which results in his imminent demise. Because now is a question of what is he going to do? Is he going to try and connect underneath and let me surround his stones? It seems to be like that is the only thing that he should allow, but he still tries to kill me, unfortunately. So at this point, I'm thinking he challenged me because he's drunk. He turns here. I get to kill his 2 stones, which is completely fine with me. He gets the outside instead, but again, I'm fine with that because I get to attack the corner. Keep. Yeah, we're gonna get back to that thought, Norwazi. But yeah, he's trying to connect up, doesn't work. I force him to eat my stone and capture it. And then attack his top. He gets the idea to completely surround my group, though on the left-hand side, which is fairly nice for him. He gets some strength, finally, in this game. But since I'm confident I have the top dead, I make a cut to continue attacking, because that's pretty much the only thing that I did. Unfortunately, I did not respect Proverbs as much as I do today, so I do not extend here, like it would be kind of intelligent to do. Hane at the head of 3 stones, typically a bad idea. Instead, I'm greedy, so I take a corner and let him Hane. Which means I'm now not really influenced there, I'm just kind of killing a stone. He gets to extend nicely. I could have prevented it with just one more extension, but no, I couldn't do that. I was taking the corner. But oh well. Speaking of being greedy, I also attach to pretty much everything in order to take territory. He goes along with it and gives me my corner. Before finally taking Sente to settle. So far, I'm pretty much okay with my position. I was glad that I got the upper left. It was the only thing I knew, and what was essentially the only way I was ever going to get a decent result against this player, potentially, was if he played like the only Joseki that I knew at the time. So that was quite happy. My bottom left is nice and secure. I figure he can't really do much there either, so that's cool too. Why not F3? I'm not playing F3 because at 8Q I'm really greedy, and 4th line territory is really awesome, so clearly I'm going to play high and not low. So he approaches, and I'm attaching again because, again, I mentioned I always play for influence in pretty much almost every single opportunity that I can. The upper left, I was trying to get influence. Here, again, I'm going to try to get influence because that's just the only thing I do. Keep him out of the corner. He takes my influence away, which is really quite sad. Or tries to anyway. This lets me go back and attack his top stones. Isn't E3 tempting for white? It is, but it's not. It's not the end of the world. I mean, you still have, what, 2 different options here? You can either go here or here if he peeps. I'm sorry, what's the wrong place? Oh, for him? For him, he's probably going to do H3 if he actually wants to approach this. Force me to respond down. If it gets played. But right now, I'm just forcing him to respond to respond to my moves. He tries to come out, but I do know how to contain. So he has to go back and live. And because I have absolutely no respect for leaving Aji, I poke it all away immediately. Before going back and pincering his R11 stone. C16 not an answer. You might want to read that one out one more time. Because if I cut that, he only has 2 liberties, right? So I pincer his stone. This is now forced to live. He's trying to surround my R9 stone. Clearly that has to get a base as well. And because I'm entirely way too confident, I make certain he can't extend along the right-hand side, giving him nice ample opportunity to attack my right side. He tries to force me to defend, but I'm not going to defend because my stones are now being surrounded, and I do know a couple of proverbs, such as the whole being behind enemy lines thing. That's usually a bad thing. Don't want to allow that to happen. So I respond with a nice little defense here. And something very, very odd happens at this point. He disconnects. I was quite sad. He unfortunately disconnects and does not return, so I actually win on time against a Fordon to pretty much hundreds of viewers on IGS. Now, I was feeling happy about this, that I got any kind of win against a Fordon, but unfortunately it did draw a little bit of undue attention. Because if we scroll up on this chat to who said it, yeah, Norwazy there said, Fordon thinking you're not an 8Q at this point. Yeah, well, a lot of people thought I was an 8Q at this point. And immediately after this game ended, I was flooded with messages asking me why I'm sandbagging, and if I'm sandbagging, why would I show it by playing Fordon? It got to the point where every time I logged on to IGS, someone would message me why I was sandbagging. I had to abandon this ID because of this game. But it was still a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed playing it. First time playing a Fordon, and I actually didn't do horrible. I didn't die horribly, in other words. He probably, I think, just tried to get me in a quick trick Joseki. I don't know, maybe he clicked on my name on accident. The only thing that I can think of is maybe he was sorting his user list alphabetically, and there was a Fordon right above my name or below my name, and he challenged me, and I accepted it before he could challenge someone else. So maybe he just tried to get me into a quick trick Joseki that he thought would kill an 8K? But it happened to be the only Joseki I knew at the time, so I did fairly well. Either way, immediately tops my list as most memorable games. No, unfortunately he never played me again after that. It was kind of sad. No, it wasn't an artificial Fordon, because I did watch this guy all the time. I did watch him versus other Fordons. And it was after one such game that I got what I think was accidentally challenged. Because on IGS there are typically 2 ways to sort, well, at least there were 2 ways to sort your user list, by rank and by name. Kind of like you can do here on KGS. And typically you just right-click on that person's name and send him a game request. So I'm thinking he missent a request. Either way, I absolutely loved it. It gave me so much encouragement playing this. But some of you may be wondering, my style of play is clearly a lot different now than it is back then. I mean, this is a move that I would never go over with you guys if it appeared in a pro game. You're probably not going to see me playing it in an even game, or maybe even in any of my normal game series. So you may start asking yourself, why were you playing for influence? Well, that's a good question. And believe it or not, I do have another game this time against a 7Q that's a little bit earlier than this game that should explain why I was playing for influence. It might not be a good reason, but it is a reason. So I'm going to quickly close this game and reopen, and you can see why I actually slipped into this particular strategy. Alright. Check messages. Okay, we're good. Alright, so this game was actually played I don't know, I want to say a couple of weeks before the game that you just saw. I think it was a couple of weeks. But also I should point out that when trying to understand why I was playing Influence so much, you have to remember what IGS was. It was essentially the server to go to if you were actually in any way serious about your Go. You don't chat there, you just watch games or play them. And the players that were playing there were professionals, and sometimes professionals, even Japanese professionals that is, and sometimes they would even comment in English what should be played and why during a game. Like they would view another professional's game and they would actually kind of review it while it was being played. It was really, really cool. All of that unfortunately stopped when a bunch of trolls would always argue with them and tell them how wrong they were. So that's not around anymore. But it used to be cool. But being Japanese, some influential games may have been observed. So that, coupled with what I'm going to show you, should make you understand why exactly I was actually playing an influential game. So in this game again, I'm also black. Again, we are playing at... Oh, this game I'm actually... Alright. I'm actually 9Q against a 7Q. But it's an even game, for whatever reason. I don't know. I never liked handicap. Now or then, never changed. I've always hated handicap. But true to my style, you are seeing the 5-4 point in every fracking game I play as black. Because this is the only opening I know. I know this one, and I know Sanrinsei. And those are the only two openings I ever played. So yeah, a little bit different than what I play nowadays. He opened up with dual 4-4s, which is my preference. I approach him ready to make a nice framework, like I always loved to do. He pincered me. And nowadays, if I'm pincered here, I love going into the corner, I love changing directions, I love taking an enclosure, because I'm more territorially minded. Instead, back then, I'm up for influence, because who cares about territory? For me, it was all about the influence. So of course we're going to jump out, and of course we're going to play Joseki wrong, because I've never studied it before, but I know I can shoulder hit here, so that's going to be cool. Now, for those of you who are wondering why this is bad, it completely gets rid of any hope that I have of hitting the 3-3 later and making this any kind of an even exchange. This should just be flat out bad for black now. But don't worry, it's going to get worse. Because he's not really certain about the order of moves either, that's okay. Can be totally forgiven. I don't really know Joseki either, or maybe I know it and I just don't care about it. But typically speaking, I should push again. But yeah, exactly. Pushing again is so Gote, and we have absolutely no time for that. We're a queue, and we're very greedy. So forget connecting. We're going to keep playing away. Because that's what you do when you're trying to be good. You play away, and you hope you don't die. There you go. So here we are playing away. we're pincered again. And I know you're probably thinking that I'm going to do it again. That I'm again going to jump out and shoulder hit and get another wall. But no, I'm not that greedy. I do change directions again. One wall is enough. We play something that resembles Joseki until he pincers, or Hane's here, and I cut, and then it just all goes insane. No longer entering in any kind of Joseki now, it's just kind of getting into a weird fight. He cuts. Cut doesn't really work, that much I know. I had that happen to me lots of times before. But he is getting influence while he's doing this, so that's pretty good for him. I protect because I used to care about things like shape and cut points. I know shape is kind of important, and I know that cut points are kind of important, so I usually saved every last one of them. Make sure that those don't connect. I go and attack those. He jumps out. I'm of course not going to let my stones go, because that would be letting your cutting stones die, and who's got time for that? He extends instead of doing a bamboo joint, but that can be forgiven. Trying to use Aji, which immediately turns against me. Not the smartest exchange in the world. But it does give me an opportunity to make shape again. He tries to cut through me. Not going to work. He takes, and I get shape. And now I'm happy again. Why? Because I'm getting influence. And that's really the only thing I'm ever interested in any of my games. And a game like we're going to see here is an example as to why. Because right now, maybe people should be concerned with, you're giving him territory on the left. You gave him territory on the bottom. His corner, easily fourth line, can still extend out. That's pretty good too. If he gets a group in the middle, which he already has stones in the middle for, then it's going to be really, 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 really hard to develop. So you're not playing a really intelligent game. But the good thing about that is the people I was playing were really, really bad. So this kind of thing actually works very well. Takes away his Aji, makes shape, but that's fine because I can attack. Which is what we're going to do incessantly. That stone unfortunately is gone, but that's okay, we have Sente. And when we have Sente, we're going to play away. What this is, I could not tell you. I have no idea why I played it. It makes no sense. This isn't some kind of enclosure. It's not like you just said. It's not Q10. I think the thought was I was trying to play weird trick moves again. I figure maybe if he approaches here, I can attack him severely, and that's exactly what he's going to do, right? Because you're going to see this and you're going to want to take it away. See, we're thinking outside the box here. He's going to be so greedy about the points that I might be making here, he's just going to jump on in and try and take it away from me. Which actually is what he does. He jumps in and takes away from me. So, all we have to do now is attack him severely, and it's all good, right? So here we are attacking him severely, making it so it's hard to live. He will, of course, live, but hey, we're getting influence again. All of our territory is vanishing, and that's a bit of a bummer, but we're getting influence. And really, that's all we need in Go. Just more and more influence. You. There we go. Connect here. that influence. He's still greedy. See, this is an interesting game because it's completely opposite. On one hand, we have black, who is only interested in influence, and then we have white, who's only interested in territory. And sadly, it's games like these, which is why I kept playing this over and over again. I mean, when deciding which games to show you this week, I ran through a huge list of my 8Q games that went almost identical. It's kind of funny, really. So he steals all of that. I defend my cut points because, yeah. At this point, I was 9Q. Shortly after this, I was 8Q, and I played the 4-Dan game that we saw. That we just saw, rather. He's trying to poke at me. I'm trying to defend in really, really awesome ways, because I'm all about looking for shape. How would I compare that to the ranks here? It's really hard to say, because amateurs went up to 4-Dan then. Now, on here they go up to 9-Dan, so I really have no idea. It really can't be compared. He keeps trying to poke at me. I ignore him and start attacking. K11, unfortunately did not play K11. Because one thing that we can see throughout all of this, I mean, everything he tried to do it was live right now, right? I mean, we forced him to live on the bottom. That was pretty easy to see. We let him live and even kill off our F-17 stone, right? Nothing horrible for black there, for white there either. We try and make something on the right-hand side, which was right here. Or here. There we go. He invades that and gets to live. So everywhere, and I do mean everywhere he plays, he gets to live. Does that remind you of anything? Any particular style? Where he just gets to go around, do everything he wants to do, and still loses the game. Alright, I was actually looking for Yi Cheng-ho's early style, because that was like the only pro I actually learned. I actively studied. I was actually memorizing professional games every single day at around this time when I played the 4-Dan and played this guy. And one of the players that I would study back then is Yi Cheng-ho, who was famous for letting his opponent do everything that he wanted to do and yet still win the game. His opponents were actually famous for saying that. And I was really, really trying to like adopt that style where my opponents could get what they wanted and I would still be able to win the game. My personality, Nazumi, unfortunately that's what inspired me to study so hard. When I got interested in something, I kind of wanted to be perfect at it. So I liked this. It was challenging, and I kind of wanted to be perfect at it. Or at least get to a point where I thought I was kind of a good player, and I kind of wanted to get there really, really, really fast. So I began memorizing pro games every day, which is not something I recommend, by the way, unless you want to hate Go for about a couple of years afterwards. It's kind of harsh. Anyway, so yeah, he's pretty much getting exactly what he wants. All of my territory is vanishing. But now we're actually attacking. And we're attacking not in the really, really good way that we already mentioned. Or someone already mentioned K11 would have been a much, much better move. But right now I'm just seeing that maybe I can make territory there. Because believe it or not, at this point I'm not actually trying to kill him, I'm just trying to get profit. Unfortunately, he completely ignores me because he's really, really greedy and seeing everything I do and wants to take it away. So yay, I get to play K3, or K11, sorry. Happily though, I'm really, really, really bad at attacking. So I can attack for profit around this time, but I can't kill anything. Is the bottom really alive? Yeah, bottom is really alive. Well, okay, there's openings there and there. Yeah, there's openings there and there. I actually probably can do something with that. That might die. Well, if he lets that go and plays J2 first... Alright. I think he can probably connect up. I'd have to play J2, or not J2, I'd have to play G2 first in order to fully kill him. But it doesn't matter. We weren't trying to kill anything. All we were doing was trying to profit. And that's what we can see here. Just forcing him to connect. I mean, we're going to chase him for as long as possible. I mean, if he lets us kill him, we will. But we don't imagine that we're going to be able to right now. So here he's connected. And now you can see why I was playing Influence in pretty much all of my games. Do you see how large that center is? I mean, look. I mean, these were such bad... these were not good games at all. And you're playing against people who aren't playing good moves. So what you're seeing here is White going like absolutely bonkers trying to get territory, right? That's all he was about. Territory, territory, and more territory. But dude, who cares about that territory when you can make such huge swaths of territory, or yeah, in the very middle of the board by going for influence? I mean, that seemed like the superior method of playing. I mean, who cares if you're giving up all of your corners? It didn't matter. You get these large areas that just completely dominate it. So forget corners. Nobody cares about corners. It's all about the influence. Why isn't he going for influence? Obviously because he doesn't study like I did. That's why. Not because what I'm doing is retarded and shouldn't work, and that's why nobody else does it. No, they're not doing it because they all suck. That was my thought. That is how I actually looked at the game. It's kind of funny when I think about it, but that was so bad. Everything about my thought process back then was so, so, so bad. But hey, it was fun, so who cares? And yeah, my life and death is bad. It never occurred to me to throw in, so I just go, peek, 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 you're alive. Try to get in some forcing moves. He tries to come on in. We're not going to let him. We're just going to go and keep him out of everything. We'll back off if we have to because we're fine. We've got a lot of territory. Oh, no. Ah. Shoot. Boink, boink, boink. There we go. Long as we get shape, we're not going to die, so we make that. He's trying to cut and kill me. That's not going to happen. Unfortunately, this did happen a lot. I did lose a lot of games because they would try everything and anything to break in, and my life and death just couldn't handle it. My reading just couldn't handle it, and sometimes they would break in and kill me. I don't know if it was legitimate, but sometimes they did. But that's okay. Anytime they did, I didn't mind losing because I told myself I lost to a bad player, right? I mean, if they have to resort to that kind of thing, then they obviously suck, so who cares if you lose against someone that sucks? You'll beat them again next time. Uh... Again, a lot of my thought process was very, very bad. I try to poke in. At this point, I'm fairly convinced that he's horrible because he's trying all of this that should not work, clearly. I didn't read out if it doesn't work, but just on principle it shouldn't, because all of this is naturally mine. He's trying to come in. He finds something that's actually pretty good, but that's okay. We're gonna get some endgame on him finally. Indeed, how dare White try to reduce me? Doesn't he know this is all mine? Reduce, reduce, reduce. I was 9Q when I played this game. And though, keep in mind, 9Q then was a little bit different than it is now. It's a little bit stronger, but I have absolutely no idea what the rank correlations were. I do know that the minute that IGS changed their ranking system, I ceased caring about it and went off and searched for another server. The minute they let you go all the way up to like 7 Dan, it's like, what? This is just like every other server now. That's boring. I have to play somewhere else. And then we discovered Asian servers. Other Asian servers, rather. Chinese servers. Right, connect, so he's getting really good endgame on me. And I'm just trying to connect and save as much as I can. Yeah, the bottom really didn't look healthy for a very long time. But we weren't interested in killing that. All we were interested was that center bit of territory. That's all. That's all I cared about. As long as I got my influence, everything is happy. You can see Hihanes, Atari. I connect. Why does this game end? Ah! Missed it again. Shoot. Seriously, why does this game end the way it does? He plays there, we play that. And then I get to do this. Which, yeah, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking the cut works. And you're right, it does. I think I actually played here first, too. Which completely sets it up even nicer. I mean, it just, like, points it out, like, hey, there's a cut here. But it's okay, we're just gonna play this. We're just gonna play that. We're playing that first. I mean, does it give him an opportunity to completely save his entire group? Absolutely. But we're going to make the one Atari first. That way, everything's nicely connected and we can easier read that this does in fact work. So we get that for ourselves. That's why he resigns the game. Okay, that's good. Yes, White still lived. Some of him died, though, so we were satisfied with that. And here he resigns the game. But yeah, there is a nice prime example of why I played for just influence as a Q player. Because they sucked at responding to it. And it takes me so long to realize, hey, what you're doing isn't really good. They're all just really bad. And that was a harsh lesson. That was definitely a harsh lesson to learn. I didn't enjoy learning that one at all. I mean, the foundation on everything that I was playing up until that point was just shattered. And I realized that if I actually wanted to get better, I'm gonna have to ditch the influence only strategy. Luckily, I have a great game to show you as to... Let's see, what game is that actually? One second, let me check these. I have a list of them. Yeah. One second, I have a list of them here. Was it this one? Okay, so it's that one, and then what's the next one? And that's against that, and that's against that. Okay. Yeah, I actually have a list of games where I actually show how I begin the trend of getting rid of the whole influence only thing and start to go into a more territorial fighting. Because those were also really important games for me. It's like, why does this start to not work? What am I going to do about it? How does that actually... And how is that actually vindicated? Like, if I adopt this instead of the influence only thing, am I actually going to get good results? Or am I just now completely screwed because that's everything that my Go is based off of? So I do have a couple of games to show about that. However, those games will have to wait for tomorrow because we are doing this in 3 sections. Part 1 was today, my influence-only strategy, and how it net me some pretty good results, even a pretty reasonable result, against a Fordon, which should have cemented it in stone. Next one, we obviously have to change. Just have to do it. There's no getting around it. And on the last day of the lecture series, I intend to show a couple of games where I finally broke back into Fordon and got to play those kinds of players on a regular basis. So if you wish to join me on that particular series, you may do so. I'll be giving lectures tomorrow and Friday, kind of showing this gradual change in my playstyle. So if you enjoyed this, tune in for those. Who won this game? I did. Black or white resigned after losing that bottom. So you guys can look forward to that if you so wish. Let's see, do you have any questions that I'm ignoring here? Let's see, I'm looking over the chat. Yeah, Griffin says that he simply realized that he wouldn't do well as he got better using influence. Yeah. So I'm not the only person that adopted that style. I mean, 10Q to like around 5Q or so, yeah, it totally works. They just absolutely, they're horrible about responding to it. And yeah, that's cheaty. They should be good at responding to it, so you know not to do that. Yeah, it's their fault. There we go. It's not ours for playing this way and just thinking all of our opponents are trash for not playing like we do. It's their fault for not stopping it. Really mean players. Alright. Anyone seen his influence games? No, I have not. But alright, thank you guys for stopping by. We will have another lecture tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's going to be an hour later than usual because I do have some teaching games that I have to do beforehand. So, if you can't make those, they will be recorded and on YouTube, much like this one is. So I will see you guys tomorrow for part 2 of my end of the year lecture series with my more memorable games. hope you guys stop by for that. And till then, take care.